questions. We are just gonna make this easy. And again, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to jump in and ask. So Marcella and Steffi, I turn it over to you.
All right. So I thought I'll just make a few words before we start the video. And then we'll just kind of have to see, we will be commenting the video, possibly stopping it for illustrating things a little bit more clearly. So when we thought about doing the video, we had this wonderful idea with a script of the scenes that we wanted to take and film. Since, of course, we have a typical way of working when we work with writers on Jokers. And then the woman who said, okay, you can use me as a body on the simulator, Mishi. She has already taken one course and actually has worked really well with what she got from that course, which is she is sitting much more clearly in the middle for her horse. And she mentioned, as we wanted to start, that she's having an issue a little bit with lateral work. She's got an Iberian horse, and nice horse with a little bit of prehistory, so that makes things also a little bit challenging at times. And so, of course, off the script went, Steffi and I were working on Michi, and with Michi to find a solution to the issue with the lateral work, where she felt she wasn't able to give clear aids because her body was doing some weird stuff. And of course, an Iberian is an Iberian. So, if she's not sitting the way she wants to, he is going all over the place and they're not getting the right thing out of that. So, basically, that was then the focus of this session. And I guess, Sandy, we just could, hi, Lisa, we just could start the video. So, oh, and I should add, it might be that you sometimes see that you don't see, because it's really, really interesting, because we're really working on very fine differences in the body organization and mostly in the spinal organization, and the rest sort of follows from there. So so look at it and then see if you see what we're describing, and we'll work it from there. Okay.
Guys see it?
All right.
Can you guys see the video?
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. So she's sitting on the Joker, and what we usually do is it's a construction with a metal rod in the middle, and I have people go back and forth until the metal rod gives a certain boing sound. So, and this is the first thing usually where everybody finds out, or most everybody, that towards one side it's easier than towards the other side. So this is kind of an initial evaluation here. So she's doing that. She knows the thing already. I'm checking whether she's sitting in the middle, which she does a pretty good job on. And I then also check for the weight distribution, because even if you look middle, I mean, I see most of the time, but you get even more information about that middle distribution of the weight by actually putting your hands under the pad. So, and Steffi, you jump in whenever there's something.
Yes.
So, good. Then after that, I have people basically do like trampoline. Yeah. So the idea is not to do a riding movement with the pelvis. Most of the time, some pushing movement happens, but that's not what we want. We basically want people then to use Joker just like a trampoline, which means, and I instruct them to kind of work their way down from where they initiate the movement. So it's also a check if you, for example, can steer towards your chest, can you steer towards your solar plexus, can you steer with your belly button area, and then below, which I always call power center, which is where the center of gravity is and which is where writing happens, as I say it. Okay, and if you watch, she gets a little bit all over the place, yeah, which is actually a good sign because the body is figuring stuff out. So when we observe that, we don't always correct that, but we observe and then we see how it develops when we go from there. So also you see that the right shoulder is a little bit lower than the left. At that stage, we did not address that directly because the joker with the feathers or the springs that we're working on is doing a lot of work there also. Okay, quick stop, Sandy. If you noticed it, there was a slight wiggle or twist, yeah, in her alignment. And interestingly enough, that is actually a good sign because what we want is that the spine finds its up movement and its maximum movement. I mean, we have the lordosis and the kyphosis so that we actually can deal with bouncing up and down and dealing with gravity. So, and a lot of the time when people find that spinal alignment or the body is sort of searching it, you get these sideways wiggle things. Yeah, and that's actually a good sign that something is happening. Yeah, I should add here that because it's a kinesthetic writing simulator, there's a lot happening that you do not have to think through. Yeah, which I always find interesting since I'm such a brain nerd person. But of course, for the writing, you want to get out of the nerdy stuff and let your body do the feeling and the working through the motion. So, okay, and we can continue. There we go. And if you see her right side is a little bit more present, I call it. Yeah, I don't know if you see it, but it's somewhat visible, which is normal. We always have one body half that's at first a little bit more present than the other. So I help with the bouncing so she doesn't get into the pushing motion. Also, if you notice, her legs are hanging a little bit more relaxed than in the beginning. So there are all these slight changes. Oops, where's the, there we go. Okay. Sandy, can you do it so we, here we go. Yeah, so we see again where we're at. Okay, there was, if you can go back to 3:30, before we did that short break, there you go. Yeah, there was a moment where the organization, okay, and quit for a second, stop. There was a moment where the organization was of her spine and of her body was greatly improved. Yeah, and that was also the moment where the muscles that are working on the inside got tired and she started getting wobbly again. Yeah, so very often when the organization is good, we'll take a short break. Yeah, so it's in a way also a very mild way of working with your own body, just as when you work with your horses. Sometimes it makes sense when there's like a new movement or something and things are right, you praise and you take a short break. That allows the body and the brain to really find those neurological connections. Yeah, and that is basically part of the work that is happening with this type of writing simulator, that you get neurological connections reestablished or improved or repaired. Yeah, sometimes we have people sitting on there after injuries, and it's amazing what can happen. And Sarah, you already had sessions with Joker. I think you can testify to how tiring this can be.
Yeah, it can be really tiring, and it's nice to take little breaks in between everything.
Yeah, yeah. And often when we work with a person, like 20, 25 minutes, um, really break time, getting off of Joker, walking around a little bit. And I don't know, I always say it's kind of tired, like right behind the eyes. That's kind of how it feels to me when I do this kind of stuff. So maybe different for other people, but it's interestingly enough, it's very intense work, even though for the uninitiated, it might not look like much. Okay, and I guess we can keep going. So, okay. So, yeah. So, and the next thing we're dealing with is shoulders. You see that she is sitting with her shoulders falling a little bit backwards, which also tilts her pelvis. Yeah. And a lot of the time, this hangs together with whether the shoulder blades are actually movable or not. And a lot of the times, you know, if we've got a lot of stress, the muscles tense up, then the shoulder blades are not optimally moving anymore. And the interesting observation is when the shoulder area is tight, the pelvis is blocked. So a lot of the time when people complain about hips or something, we're actually working the shoulder girdle and we're working on opening things up here, and then the pelvis can find its position. There you go. Yeah, and here is the neutral pelvis. Yeah, it was just like a switch, and then it was there. And that was basically because we focused on shoulder blades, and I guess the next thing that we're also working on is, of course, the neck. That is also an issue. So, okay, here she's got too much pushing motion. Yeah. And that has to do with certain stiffnesses that actually Steffi then addresses later on. So when we observe something like that, we've worked with enough people that we basically know what to address when. And so sometimes we just let certain things go because at the end of the session, the body has figured it out. And we don't even have to address it specifically. So that's why here the pushing, it's fine, no problem. So, and watch when we do the stop. Oh, yeah. Lisa, question?
When you say pushing motion, do you mean like driving with your seat? Pushing with your seat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Since we're actually still in this bouncing up and down.
Right.
And there's always this, in writing, this very, very fine differentiation between actively pushing versus going with the motion.
Okay.
Yeah. And it depending on what kind of force, if you're pushing a little bit too far, you're pushing them the back out. Yeah. Some other horses just deal with it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we're really working on refinement.
Okay.
And my experiences, I mean, a lot of these things over the years, I figured out because I ended up working with a lot of Spanish horses that had problems with their backs because people came from warm bloods, old style warm bloods, and a lot of that pushing type of seat lessons. And then they bought a Spanish horse and things went awry from there. And I find that the seat that I teach, this neutral seat, that seat that gives space for the back, Yeah, and that really is well defined in the neutral position because from there you can work in all directions. And I find that even if you have a big cold blood with a really strong back, he's happier with that seat too. So that's why I've become so adamant on this. Okay, and go on. Yeah. 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 Okay. If you stop real quick, the mysterious half halt. We basically asked her to halt the motion, which honestly is not the easiest on Joker. Yeah. So you really, you can do it, but you really have to align everything right. And so she stopped him, but she fell backwards. Yeah. And this can be used with a little bit more oomph, basically on the hind legs. But that would be only appropriate if you have a horse that's already collected, that really has strong haunches. There you can do a little bit more oomph, or for example, if you want to go from a piaffe to a passage, you can do a little bit of a stronger half halt to then get into that higher forward elevation that the passage has. Yeah. So in her case, with where her Spanish horse is at, that would not be the best way of doing a half halt or a full full halt with the body. And so what I then explained to her, that it's not about falling backwards, which is a big shift in balance, but that it's only about stabilizing your loin, your lumbar spine, basically for a short moment. Yeah. And that was what I was explaining there. And then we were trying it out.
Can we see that again?
Yeah. Can you hang on? Yeah, 6:50, I think. Or 6
with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Sandy can, yeah, there you go.
No. That's
Okay, no, I think
Ruf
it
doch
then
die Tür
shows
auf
where she
welche
fell
Nummer? Wie
backwards.
weit zurück?
gar
You
nicht
can
zurück.
from here. You can from here. There we go. So you see the bouncing again. There you go. I'll touch the shoulder blades so that they open up a little bit. Okay. And here you saw it. She wanted to
Yeah.
stop and she tilted back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a big deal if your horse is fine with his back. So, but still, we address it. Okay. 7:16. Yeah. And I think you then can just let it go on. And then if you observe 7:16 around, we address shoulder blades again, and 7:33, the halt was then better. So
Soll ich vorspulen?
a little bit, yes, that would be great. Yeah. Yes. There you go. And you see that parts are still trying to find themselves. There you go. This was a much more stable half halt or full halt, depending on what you want to do. So then have a look at around 7:54. The seat is getting quieter and deeper. Yeah. If you see it, where things don't yet fit all together, then here we go. Yeah. Then in a way suddenly, but with preparation, you can then find that more quiet seat. So, and following then, we were doing a little bit work on posting, which was not yet that good because the motion didn't go, or the shoulders were still having a little bit of this backward idea. Yeah. So, but we didn't work for eternity on that because I think 9:31, Steffi does some hands-on work for the reorganization of the upper body, and then, of course, then from there for the pelvis. So, here we go. And here the organization gets better. Yeah. And this is the work we're doing actively, but also the doings of the springs of Joker. There we go. Okay. So, Steffi, do you want to? And I'll.
Wir haben nur einfach geschaut, dass die Wirbelsäule gerade wird, dass ich ihr da helfe quasi.
Okay. So, a refined focus on getting the spine organized. And the main issue was still that there was a certain twist where the shoulders were not parallel above the hips. And so that twist then, of course, worked in a way that her weight aids weren't clear enough for her horse. And then Steffi sort of did some hands-on work around that twisting issue. So,
Sandy, can I see the timeline? Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Super. So there was a rotation in the chest, which is she's explaining right there.
Ja, von der Schwerkraft. Die Schwerkraft wirkt und jetzt schauen wir gerade, zu welcher Seite dreht sich der Körper näher.
Basically, gravity works, but the upper body is turning more in one direction. Yeah, people who have scoliosis have that to a more extreme. Yeah, but I think a certain twist is pretty much typical for bodies that live. So.
Jetzt kann man das auch erkennen, wenn sie so hin und her geht. Schauen, wo sie da hindreht, sieht man an dem T-Shirt.
So we're doing this back and forth thing again, and then you see it, where there is the twist. So this motion, this movement brings out the twist a little bit more.
Und jetzt helfe ich dem Oberkörper, besser zu spüren, wohin es geht.
There you go. And basically, Steffi does the hands-on and basically shows the rib area and the rib cage where things are going and where they can go.
Jetzt kann man langsam sehen, wie sich das reguliert.
Yeah, and if you watch it, the body starts regulating itself because of the hands-on impulses. So it's no manipulation, but it does give impulse.
Sandy, stop the video, please.
Oh?
Genau, weil jetzt kann man nämlich sehen, wie stark die rechte Seite jetzt.
Yeah, and here you can actually, I think, very well see how the right half of the body is in a way bigger, or it appears bigger. And Steffi?
Ja, man kann quasi auch sehen, wie jetzt gerade so das Becken noch schief ist.
Ja.
Dass sich das einfach jetzt durch das Verschieben vom Brustkorb eben so ausgerichtet hat.
Okay, so because the twist in the upper body got in a way corrected, it got untwisted. But now the preliminary result, so to speak, is that she's sitting more to the right and that she has more presence in the right half of her body. So, and then we had her bounce again, and basically the what I said to her is just stay in your middle, but focus a little bit on a feeling of length of your left leg, as if the left leg would go all the way to the ground. And then Sandy, if you let it run, there's like 1307 where you see that the body finds a better balance. There we go.
Das sieht man schon
Okay.
deutlich.
And there you see that it's much more, yeah, together.
An den Schultern sieht man es und auch hier am Becken.
Yeah. The shoulders are much better. That was before she took the course that she took quite extreme. And so this time it got another improvement. And the left, right butt and the middle there was much better balanced.
So, jetzt haben wir geschaut, dass wirklich alles übereinander gestapelt
Ja.
ist. Gell?
And so Steffi here, I'm helping with the motion, and Steffi accompanies this much more differentiated stacking of upper body on top of pelvis. Okay. So, and of course, as you can see, there are other issues seat-wise that we still can work on. But the interesting part is that I saw Mishi the other day at the barn, and I asked her, "So, what did your horse say?" Yeah. And it looks like, my goodness, they're doing all this minute stuff. Yeah. But now the lateral work works. Yeah. And what I see when I'm around in different barns or whatnot, people still think, oh, I got to escalate my aids, more leg, more this, more that, right? And it's these minute changes in our body that then makes it possible to reduce the aids, to just think the weight here and think the leg here. And then it communicates because I don't have a twist in my body anymore. So, okay. I suggest, Sandy, you play Steffi's short thing, and then I have a few final comments, and then I would open for questions, if that is okay with you folks. Oops, I don't hear you.
No.
Sarah, can you hear Sandy?
I can't hear Sandy at all.
Okay,
If she's
well,
talking,
one
I
minute,
can't hear.
Just 1
Oh.
minute.
There we
Technical
go.
difficulties, technical difficulties.
We love technology.
Absolutely.
Yes. The finger is rising. So basically what it is a short video specifically on Steffi's stuff. Since that's not that much known, I think it's getting more known. There we go. I don't hear the sound. Sandy, I don't hear the voice. No.
So, let me put it in the chat.
Okay, I can hear Sandy, but the video didn't have the voice.
The voice is playing. I think there's sometimes a transmission. I'm going to have to share it differently with audio. Hang on. There's a
Perfect.
second situation you have to do with that. Right. And then I hope it plays now because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, hang on. Let's try this now.
I hope it does. It's such a nice little video.
Yeah.
Jetzt hört man sie wieder
Mhm.
nicht.
Or you explain it and I
No.
translate.
Yeah.
Ah,
Well,
jetzt wird-
it's playing the caption. So you can read the caption because it's not going to do the audio. For some reason, it doesn't like the audio. So let me
Okay.
do this. Let me find it again.
Well, if you guys are interested, that can be sent out afterwards. So
Aber man muss es von vorne machen, das war jetzt nicht von vorn.
I think we have to explain why they all walk like storks.
That is, how do I walk in a way that is healthy for my spine? How do I sit down and get up from the chair? Really mundane stuff that will make a difference for your spinal health. During the clinic with Joker, you will get individual body work. It will give your body impulses for changes towards a healthy self-organization. This will affect your musculature, fascia, sinews, but also on your bones. All of this together will create a much freer space for movement in your body. Neurological connections will be creating a new or old one will be renewed. People I have worked with always report on being more pain-free and on feeling much more easy and freedom in their movement. One of the approaches I'm using to help you towards that is a creating kind of breath work that I teach, and that among another things connects body parts with each other in a way that makes movement easier. I also use color light, which impacts meridians but also individual body parts. Your skeleton or bones will go through new movement experiences, and this type of hands-on body work is wonderfully supported through simulations that Joker creates. The great thing about of that is that you do not have to do something to get a big benefit out of it. If you are interested in getting a full session,
You have to unmute. Yeah.
There we
There
go.
you go. There we go.
Perfect. I said to Steffi as the video was running, I think we have to explain why these participants in the studio were all walking like storks. Do you want to say something to that?
Ja, da haben die quasi ihre ersten Schritte zum Gehen gemacht. Also die haben das quasi physiologischer gelernt, physiologisches Gehen gelernt.
Yeah. So one of the things we do there is that Steffi teaches people how to walk. And you might laugh and go, well, hell, I've been walking for a long time. But interestingly enough, and myself included, a lot of people walk like in a pace. I did that too. And then I got back problems. And I thought, oh my God, I'm getting older and I'm having back problems. And it was really just a matter of learning how to walk in a much more healthy way. And since then, I'm older and I don't have back problems. So, but this is one of the things, because the background to that is to integrate better movement, healthier spinal movement into everyday stuff, because none of us really has the time, for an extra hour on the mat every day, besides the stuff that we're anyway doing or, not. So I want to real briefly get a connection to the writing, because I think for some folks, what's happening on this Joker, and then when we do walking or getting up, sitting down, etc., writing is really this mysterious thing where two life centers are connected with each other. Yeah, our vertical spine and the horizontal spine of the horse. And so if we work on ourselves in such a way that it is healthy for our spine, that is the real precondition to work it healthy for the spine of the horse. And I'm focusing on the spine because that's where movement happens. Now, that's where all movement originates. And when we focus on our self-organization, that also helps us to truly work from the seat, so that the legs are the secondary thing and the hands are really more and more reduced to what they're reduced to, which is the hands receive, the hands modify. Yeah, our brain as a two-legged upright person with a strong reflex for grabbing things is, of course, a little bit opposed to that. But with this very, very diligent work, it helps the writers to make it jump forward to this much more refined writing. So since, I don't know, it took me a long time to discover a lot of differentiations on all of that. And so my mission in a way is to make it possible for people to get a little bit faster there than I did with all of that feel. And the interesting thing is too, and I think that's typical for writers, we do everything for our horses, osteo here, massage there, etc., etc. And of course, I'm the same way. The horse is always first. But at some point, I think some blip can happen in the brain where if we start working this diligently and differentiatedly with our body and our body's well-being, we're actually saving some of the other expenses for the horse's health. I see it at my barn too. The osteo person was there again. She's coming pretty regularly. Yeah. And it would be so easy that, those treatments could be spread out a little bit more, but not everybody knows about it yet, about the importance of this very refined and very diligent work. And and so that's what we're carrying out into the writing world. So, okay. Questions?
Yeah. Anybody out there have questions? Anything you want more explanation on? This is the time.
Where all do you do this?
So far in my studio here, in connection, Sandy has organized, like a little trip to this area in Germany, a touristic element 2 and a horsey element 2, and of course then intensive course in the studio. And then in North Carolina as well. So.
And you guys will be here April 4th through the 7th is the next trip that Marcella and Steffi will be doing.
To North Carolina?
To North Carolina, yes.
Right. Yeah. So, and if I just should add one more thing, basically, what this kind of work helps is that we get a much more better access to feeling ourselves, feeling our whole body. That allows us to really get more and more to this real minimalism in aiding. Because if I'm aware of what I'm doing, or if I stop sitting on one side, for example, then I don't have to do all this compensatory aiding in order to go straight with the horse. Now, people are just not aware of that. And then I get this very, very diligent and fine communication with the horse. And the combination of this minimalism and the utmost feel and the communication, that creates balance for the horse. And as a flight animals, balance is everything. And that fixes a lot of issues. It makes so-called lazy horses moving happily. It makes horses that are getting scared of everything much calmer. Yeah, so it's really all about balance. And that's where we want to help too.
Right.
Sarah, I'd be happy to share my experience after working with
Absolutely.
you guys. Yeah, so I was lucky enough to be in Marcella's seminar when she was here with Sarah, and then to work with Sarah a couple of times after that. I have fleece a horse, a big guy, an old guy, who was an eventer and is not the most sensitive horse in the world. Well, he's got a tough mouth, I'll say that about him. So the first time I got on him and applied what I had learned in the seminar, I didn't learn everything, but he felt it immediately. He felt it immediately, and I felt the change in him. And I can't do it all the time. I get distracted when he misbehaves or when he gets distracted. But when I'm able to get all the little ducks in a row, he does feel it, and he's very happy. Yeah, thank you, Marcella. He thanks you too.
Cool.
Yeah.
I know when I got back from the 2.5-day intensive in Germany, I was terrified that I'd lost everything. And the first horse that I sat on, he'd never felt so round, so with me, so just there. Like the work that is being done with the jokers is just absolutely incredible. And I do recommend it for everybody who can take the opportunity to do it.
I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me. I am actually in my car commuting home right
You're
now.
good, Jen. You're good, Jen.
Okay.
We got you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm in North Carolina, and I work with Sarah on her big guy Jack, and I am one of those riders that has scoliosis in my lower back, and I fractured my pelvis a couple of years ago. So as Sarah can attest, I am always the crooked rider that sits too far on the right. I don't have access to a joker. So what type of exercises, yoga, Pilates, whatever, could someone like me incorporate to try and feel some of the things that you're talking about?
Good question. I'm more thinking the other direction. When you said you're in North Carolina, it would be great if you could come to this next clinic. Since the interesting thing is with this work with Joker, that because it's basically a setup with springs. There is a certain basic vibration. I always joke and I say it's quantum theory. But you get that input from Joker, and then the work that we're doing there, plus the hands-on work from Steffi. So I think the thing that makes it so easily possible to make a difference is really the coming together of those three elements. So exercises alone, I couldn't speak to that. I'm not the expert there.
Okay, thank you. I'll figure out how to make it work to come to a clinic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you going to have another clinic after April?
More than likely, they'll be back about twice a year.
Okay.
So yeah, there is a Joker that I get to borrow here in North Carolina when Steffi and Marcella are in town. And you know, I appreciate them coming over from Germany to help continue and further my riding as a trainer. So I want them to come back. I'll do what I need to do. So
Well, we're happy to come back, and especially it will be interesting then this time around also then to have lessons with people on horses after that we're on Joker, because then that transmission can happen very easily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was
Can you
gonna.
talk-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask. So if you do a clinic, or you want to go to one of the sessions and you kind of get figured out, how long does that, I guess, translate or stick with your horse before you kind of lose it again? Or what is a good way to keep that feel or whatever, keep it sticking when you can't sit on Joker all the time? Or I guess what's the, how long does it stay with you before your, I guess, memory or your muscle memory keep that feeling that you get during the clinic?
Sarah, I would almost say you need to speak to that, because for me it's such a long time ago with Joker.
So I mean, for me, I was there in, what was it, July, and
Right,
by the
last
time they came back in November, it was just a little refresh. And it stays however this works, and I don't know the scientific stuff behind it, but however this works, it doesn't leave you very quickly. Once you find this feel, you want it. You search for it. And it doesn't matter what horse I sit on, I'm searching for that feel. Does that make sense, Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So
also,
you kind of remember, I guess, how it felt when you did the clinic, and then you can kind of keep it in your head.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
okay, this is the way it's supposed to feel, and when I'm sitting on this horse, it doesn't, and then you try to find it.
Yes.
So once you kind of originally learn it, then your brain, it kind of sticks with you, I guess.
well, one thing that also helped me is the horse rewarded me for doing it right.
Okay, yeah. So your horse
that-
will give you feedback on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your horse kind of gives you feedback. Oh, okay,
Just
that's
goes,
the way. Yeah, like, oh, okay, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think the element that makes it more sustainable is that it's body memory. Yeah.
Right.
So it's not just, of course, when I ride, I'm also very conscientious with my brain here, because I know what things I want to watch out for in my riding. But the thing that happens on Joker is really that sort of the spinal brain stores information. And in a way, bodies want to be happy and healthy. Yeah. Same for the horses. When they get the chance to find a movement that we want from them, and they can do it happily, it sticks with them. And so the same for our bodies.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit more about the walking exercise that was being done in the second video?
Yeah. Steffi, do you want the walking exercise? She wants to, dass du noch ein bisschen mehr erklärst.
Über das Gehen.
Ja.
dann, also die Wirbelsäule ist das Bewegungszentrum.
Yeah. So the spine is the movement center, always.
Genau, und wir müssen das alles miteinander verknüpfen, also die Extremitäten, also wie Arme und Beine, mit der Wirbelsäule.
So it's really about re-examining or re-feeling the connections between the spine and the extremities, legs and arms.
Genau, und wenn wir das alles gut verbunden haben und also wichtig ist halt, dass wir die Wirbelsäule wieder in Bewegung bringen. Und deshalb das Gehen, darüber können wir das selber steuern und selber machen.
And very often people walk very stiffly, yeah. And once you get the spine truly involved in the movement, it gets it's a whole different movement experience for the whole body.
Genau, und es gibt ja noch andere Übungen wie nur das Gehen. Also wir sprechen ja dann auch über das Bücken und Hochkommen oder wie man sich hinsetzt.
Yeah. And then, you know, we'll do other stuff like sitting down on a chair, getting up on a chair. How do you do that? Yeah. Or when you bend down to pick something up, how do you do that so that it's healthy for your spine? So those kinds of things we're also looking at. And yeah, I mean, it's just for the well-being, for the daily well-being. One element that I observe with myself, with other riders, or with people I see walking on the street, is that very often the upper body is extremely stiff, and the oh God, it's late. The chest
The sternum.
bone here, yeah, that sternum. Thank you. The sternum is like completely, I don't know, locked in. And that is something too that one gets much more aware of, and it gets much more integrated in the movement. And personally, since I'm such a stiff walker, if I don't pay attention, for me, it's also easy to just get back into that. And I had to practice it at first and go slowly. And I can even now keep that movement when I do my usual pace, which is a little bit quicker than what we were practicing in the studio. So, and that is too when Jen asked, you know, all these little things, if you integrate them into your everyday life, you won't lose them when you ride.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So does anybody else have any questions, thoughts, anything?
So can we learn this without Joker?
Would be
No,
nice.
But so we have so as Sarah mentioned, Marcella and Steffi are coming on the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th of April. And there'll be individual lessons on Friday and on Monday, the 4th and 7th. And then on Saturday and Sunday, you have the opportunity to do like the seminar or the, you know, the workshop that Steffi and Marcella do together. And you can have individual riding lessons with Marcella. You can have body work with Steffi. You can also have individual lessons with Joker.
So I want to just thank everybody for hopping on for the last hour. And again, if you're interested, please feel free to reach out and we will get everybody what they need.